My name is Krista, and for 30 years I've lived in my sister's shadow. No matter what I did, my parents always put her on a pedestal, showering her with praise, while I was an afterthought. What they didn't know was that I'd quietly built a $10 million fortune in tech startups. Everything exploded at my mom's birthday party last month in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when my secrets spilled out over cake and champagne, shattering their perfect image of me. My sister's face when she found out, pure shock, then rage, set the stage for a showdown nobody saw coming. I'd always been the invisible one, the one who didn't need coddling. My sister soaked up every ounce of attention: new clothes, fancy trips, endless compliments for her charm. Meanwhile, I was grinding, turning my ideas into a tech empire, all while keeping my success under wraps. I didn't want their sudden interest once they knew about the money. But at that party, when I gifted my parents a high-end home theater system, my sister's suspicions ignited. She started digging, and what she uncovered turned our family dinner into a battlefield. Get ready for the moment my parents realized their boring daughter wasn't who they thought. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. If family secrets and drama hit home, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories that uncover hidden truths. Stick around, you won't believe how this unfolds. Growing up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, our family looked like the ideal middle-class picture: a tidy ranch-style house, a backyard with a treehouse, and parents who seemed to have it all together. My father, an auto parts store manager, and my mother, a nurse at the local hospital, worked hard to keep us comfortable. But behind closed doors, the way they treated me and my sister Morgan was a stark divide that shaped who I became. Morgan, 2 years older, was their pride and joy from the moment she could smile. They called her their star, always gushing about her charm, her social grace, her knack for winning people over. I remember being 6, watching my parents cheer at Morgan's school talent show, where she sang off-key, but got a standing ovation from them. They bought her a glittery dress for the occasion, spent weeks helping her rehearse. That same week, I won a math Olympiad, first place in my grade. My certificate came home crumpled in my backpack. No one asked to see it. They were too busy framing Morgan's participant ribbon from the show. The differences piled up sharp and constant like pebbles in my shoes. At Christmas, Morgan unwrapped the latest gaming console she'd begged for, while I got a set of used encyclopedias. Practical, they said, for someone so studious. When Morgan wanted dance classes at 9, my parents rearranged their schedules to drive her across town, clapping wildly at her recitals. I begged to join a coding camp that summer, but my mother said it was too expensive, and besides, Morgan's dance costumes needed funding. My room stayed a plain beige box with a creaky twin bed, while Morgan's got a fresh coat of pink paint every few years, complete with fairy lights and a custom desk for her creative projects. Discipline was another sore spot. Morgan could skip curfew, sneak out to parties, and get a gentle, "let's talk about better choices" from my parents. I missed one homework deadline in 7th grade, and I was grounded for a week scrubbing dishes while Morgan laughed with friends in the living room. Neighbors noticed Mrs. Carter across the street once asked why my parents treated us so differently. I shrugged, too young to articulate the sting of being invisible. The constant dismissal could have crushed me, but it lit a fire instead. By 10, I stopped chasing their approval. I learned to fix my own breakfast, organized my own schedule, and biked to school when Morgan got rides in Dad's car. Morgan leaned on our parents for everything: homework, help, allowance, even picking her outfits well into high school. I became self-sufficient not because I wanted to, but because I had to. The one person who truly saw me was Aunt Jane, my mother's older sister. Jane was a no-nonsense software engineer who'd carved out a career in a male-dominated field during the 80s. She lived a few blocks away and invited me over every Sunday. Over glasses of iced tea, she'd ask about my math projects, my dreams, my ideas. "You've got a sharp mind, Krista," she'd say, her voice steady and certain. "Don't let anyone make you feel small." When I was 12, Jane changed my life. We were tinkering with an old computer in her garage when she asked if I knew what a startup was. I shook my head, and she grabbed a notebook, sketching out how an idea could turn into a business, how innovation could build wealth. "The world rewards those who solve problems," she said. "And you're a problem solver." That afternoon, she taught me the basics of coding, showed me how to research tech trends, and planted the seed that I could create something big. Over the next few years, Jane became my mentor, guiding me through books on entrepreneurship, introducing me to her colleagues, and showing me how to spot opportunities in the tech world. My parents never taught me about money. Morgan got all their financial support from dance fees to a shiny new phone every year. But Jane's lessons stuck. By 16, I was writing simple apps for fun, selling one to a local business for a few $100s. It wasn't much, but it was mine, earned without anyone's help. Jane beamed when I showed her the check. "This is just the start," she said. "Keep building quietly." The loudest people in the room rarely have the most to offer. High school was my proving ground. Morgan was a C-average student thriving in drama club and prom planning, always the center of attention. I pushed myself to the limit: straight A's, math team, coding competitions. I stayed up late debugging programs, teaching myself Python when my school's computer lab was outdated. My parents barely noticed. "That's nice, Krista," my mother said when I won a national coding award at 17. "But did you hear Morgan got the lead in the school play?" My father nodded along, distracted, already planning a party for Morgan's performance. Graduation day was the final straw. I was salutatorian, earned a full ride to Purdue University for computer science, and gave a speech at the ceremony. I scanned the crowd for my family, hoping for once they'd be there for me. They were technically. But my father was busy taking photos of Morgan, who'd graduated with a C average, and no clear plans. At the reception, they bragged about Morgan's bright future to relatives, mentioning my scholarship as an afterthought. "Krista's always been so independent," my mother said, like it was a compliment. I smiled tightly, vowing to build a life they couldn't ignore, but one I'd never share with them. Morgan headed off to a pricey liberal arts college in Chicago, tuition fully covered by our parents despite her average grades. I started at Purdue on my full scholarship in computer science, packing my beat-up suitcase into a bus, while my parents drove Morgan 6 hours to her dorm, stocking it with new linens, a coffee maker, and the latest gadgets. They stayed the weekend to settle her in, calling every day to check on her adjustment. For me, Dad dropped me at the bus stop with a quick, "You'll manage, you always do." He was back home before I even arrived, prepping a care package for Morgan, who'd already complained about homesickness. The contrast hit hard that first semester. My parents wired Morgan monthly allowances for social expenses, while I juggled 2 part-time jobs, tutoring freshmen in coding and working nights at the campus tech support desk. I scraped by on ramen and free campus events, maintaining a 4.0 GPA despite the grind. When I called home, conversations revolved around Morgan's sorority life or her weekend parties. Mentioning my perfect midterms got a distracted "Good job, honey." "Hey, did I tell you? Morgan landed a spot in that theater group." As college wore on, the financial gaps widened. My parents reminded me constantly that my scholarship covered everything, so no help was needed. Morgan, meanwhile, got extra cash for spring break trips and even a car sophomore year. I biked everywhere, saved every penny, and dove deeper into tech projects. In my junior year, a professor in advanced algorithms pulled me aside after class. "Krista, your work on that machine learning model is exceptional," he said. "You've got real talent for turning code into something scalable." Ever thought about startups? That chat opened doors. He connected me with industry pros, recommended internships, and I landed a summer gig at a Silicon Valley firm debugging AI systems for autonomous vehicles. Morgan spent that summer lounging at a resort in Florida, courtesy of our parents. I worked 60-hour weeks, absorbing everything about scalable tech and venture funding. Senior year, Aunt Jane fell ill with heart issues and passed suddenly. She'd been my rock, the one who believed in me when no one else did. At the funeral, my parents seemed surprised by my grief, treating her as just an aunt, while to me, she was everything. A few weeks later, her lawyer contacted me. Aunt Jane left me $50,000, her savings from years in engineering. My parents were stunned, expecting it split evenly. "You should think about helping Morgan with that," Dad suggested over dinner. "She's considering a master's in communications, it'd cover her fees." I stared, incredulous. "Did Aunt Jane leave it to Morgan?" "No, but family shares," Mom added. "Morgan has big dreams, and you've always handled things on your own." For the first time, I pushed back. "This is from the one person who invested in my future. I'll use it her way." I poured every dollar into my first venture, applying Jane's lessons on bootstrapping tech ideas. After graduation, I moved to New York, taking an entry-level role at a fintech startup analyzing data patterns. The pay was modest, but the exposure was gold. I shared a cramped apartment with roommates, skipped luxuries, and funneled half my salary into side projects. I built an app that optimized supply chains for small businesses, spotting inefficiencies others missed. By 24, I'd licensed it to a mid-sized company, netting my first big payout. At 25, I quit and launched my own startup, K-Tech Innovations, neutral name, no hint, it was a solo woman founder. I focused on AI tools for e-commerce, predicting trends before they hit. My breakthrough came with an algorithm that flagged emerging market shifts in real time. When a major retailer acquired it, my investment returned eightfold. By 26, my net worth hit $1 million, all hidden from family. I upgraded to a modest Brooklyn apartment, kept family calls brief, and stuck to vague job talk. During visits home, my parents fawned over Morgan, now in a mid-level PR job with average pay but amazing connections. They'd quiz her on clients, ignore my mentions of work. "It's great you have steady employment," Mom would say. "Sounds reliable, if a bit dull." Relatives at gatherings focused on Morgan's stories, shifting away when I spoke. I created a cover story, entry-level coder, 9 to 5, nothing flashy. Easier than explaining and watching them dismiss it. Over 5 years, K-Tech grew to a team of 12, managing over $150 million in client assets through AI platforms. I developed software that integrated machine learning with consumer data, spotting opportunities in health tech and sustainable apps. One hit was an AI for personalized fitness tracking sold to a wellness giant. Another predicted supply disruptions acquired by logistics firms. By 28, my worth reached $3 million. By 30, it tripled to $10 million. I owned a sleek Manhattan loft with city views, traveled for conferences, dined at exclusive spots, but never flaunted it. To family, I was still Krista the coder. I used a burner phone for calls, avoided social media posts about work, rented a basic Honda for visits instead of my electric SUV. I dressed down jeans, hoodies, no labels to match their image of me. Why the secrecy? First, I knew they'd demand money for Morgan, who still dipped into their savings for rent or trips despite being married. Second, I dreaded being valued only now after years of being sidelined. What would that say about us? Third, my success was mine, built alone, no cheers from them. In New York, life was vibrant. I networked at tech events, featured in industry mags under my full name, dated driven people. Then I met Austin, a tech entrepreneur with his own AI firm. He saw through my walls early. After 2 months over dinner in my loft, he asked, "Why hide your empire from family?" I deflected at first, but he pressed gently. "You run a powerhouse, Krista. Yet you tell your mom about routine coding days. What's the story?" That night I shared the favoritism, the neglect. He listened, then said, "Carrying that double life must drain you. Don't you want to just be you?" His words lingered. As Mom's birthday neared, I decided to ease up. No big reveal, but no more hiding. I'd bring Austin wear my usual clothes, answer honestly if asked. As a test, I bought them a premium projector for movie nights. Nice, not extravagant, but more than my typical gifts. The drive to Fort Wayne buzzed with nerves, Austin's hand steadying mine. Pulling up, I spotted Morgan's new SUV in the drive, likely parent-funded. Showtime. The drive to Fort Wayne for Mom's birthday felt heavier than usual, even with Austin's calm presence beside me. His hand rested on mine as we cruised past Indiana cornfields, the rented Honda humming along. In the back seat sat a wrapped box, a high-end home theater projector a step up from the usual mugs or scarves I gifted. I wasn't ready to spill my secret, but I was done shrinking myself to fit their mold. Austin, sensing my nerves, squeezed my hand. "You've got this, Krista. Just be you." I nodded, but my stomach churned as we pulled into my parents' driveway, where Morgan's shiny new SUV, likely bankrolled by Mom and Dad, gleamed under the streetlights. Stepping into their ranch-style house, the familiar dynamic hit like a wave. Mom rushed past me, arms wide, to hug Austin, gushing about his tech startup like he was the guest of honor. A real entrepreneur. "We've heard so much about you." Dad gave me a quick pat on the shoulder before calling out, "Morgan, Krista's here." My sister swept in all confidence and glossy highlights, wearing a tailored dress that screamed new money. At 32, she still moved like the world owed her a spotlight. "Chris," she said, barely glancing at me, her hug light as air. She turned to Austin, sizing him up with a smile. "So you're the big shot founder. Mom says you're killing it in New York." Austin handled it smoothly, deflecting with charm, but I caught the pattern. Morgan was the star, I was the tag-along. The living room screamed it too. Photos of Morgan and her husband Lance lined the mantel, their wedding, their Napa Valley trip partly funded by my parents. My lone picture, a faded high school snapshot, sat tucked behind a vase. Dinner was no different. Mom had cooked Morgan's favorites, lasagna, garlic bread, tiramisu, for dessert. I offered to help in the kitchen, but she waved me off. Morgan already set everything up so perfectly. "Just relax, honey." We sat around the dining table, Mom at one end, Dad at the other, Morgan and Lance on one side, Austin and me on the other. Morgan dominated the conversation, waving her wine glass as she described her new role as a senior PR coordinator. "It's a big step," she said, pausing for effect. "I manage a team now, and my boss says my networking is unmatched." Mom beamed, nodding along. "That's our girl, always a people person." Dad chimed in. They gave her a corner office. First impressions are everything in her world. Lance, Morgan's husband, added that the raise was small, prompting Dad to offer, "If you need help upgrading for the new role, we're here. You know that." No one asked about my work until the salad course, when Mom turned to me with a polite smile. "So Krista's still coding away at that computer job." Before I could answer, Morgan cut in, laughing. "She's fine behind a screen. Krista's never been one for the spotlight." Austin shot me a look, his eyes urging me to speak up, but I kept it vague. "Work's good. Busy as usual." Mom nodded, already turning back to Morgan's story about a client pitch. The guest room assignments told the same old story. Morgan and Lance got the spacious spare room with a king bed and fresh linens. Austin and I were sent to the cramped den, stuck with a saggy air mattress. When I mentioned it to Mom, she looked puzzled. "Morgan's used to more comfort, and Lance has a bad knee. You've always been low maintenance, Krista." Austin, inflating the mattress, later whispered, "Is it always like this?" I sighed. "Pretty much. They're actually nicer with you here." The next day, Mom's birthday tension simmered beneath the festive mood. The house buzzed with relatives, cousins, aunts. A few neighbors gathered for the party. I helped set up, carrying the projector box from the car, its sleek silver wrapping catching eyes. "What's that?" Dad asked, squinting. "A gift for Mom," I said casually. "Thought it'd be nice for movie nights." I placed it by the gift table next to Morgan's flashy bouquet and Lance's bottle of imported wine. As the party kicked off, Morgan held court, charming everyone with stories of her latest PR campaign. Relatives hung on her every word, while my attempts to join conversations fizzled. Still coding, Krista, a cousin asked, barely waiting for my nod before turning back to Morgan. Austin stayed close, his presence grounding me as I braced for the gift opening. When Mom unwrapped the projector, her eyes widened at the brand, a top-tier model, not cheap. Krista, this is stunning, she said, reading the box. This must have cost a fortune. It's nothing crazy. I lied, then caught myself. Actually, I just wanted something special for you. Dad's brow furrowed, his voice tinged with suspicion. These things aren't cheap. How'd you swing this on a coder's salary? Morgan, standing nearby, paused mid-sip, her eyes narrowing as she studied the box. That's what, $1,200, she said, pulling out her phone. Since when do you have that kind of cash lying around? Austin squeezed my knee under the table, a silent signal to stay calm. I brushed it off. Work's been good. I saved up. But Morgan wasn't letting it go. She tapped her phone, scrolling, her expression shifting from curiosity to something sharper. This isn't adding up, she muttered loud enough for the table to hear. Mom, still holding the projector box, looked between us, confused. Krista, is there something you're not telling us? The room quieted, all eyes on me, the weight of their stares pressing down. Morgan's phone glowed in her hand, and I knew she was digging, seconds away from unraveling everything I'd kept hidden. Morgan's fingers flew across her phone screen, her eyes locked on the search results. The party chatter faded as she froze, then slammed the device down on the table with a thud that made heads turn. Krista Thompson, CEO of K-Tech Innovations. She read aloud, her voice rising like a siren. Managing over $150 million in AI assets, featured in TechCrunch's 30 Under 30, one of New York's rising stars in tech. She lifted her head, face twisted in disbelief and fury. All this time you've been playing poor while stacking millions? The room went silent, relatives exchanging glances, Mom clutching the projector box like a shield. Dad's fork hovered midair, his mouth open but wordless. Austin's hand found mine under the table, steady and reassuring, but my heart pounded as years of secrets unraveled in seconds. It's not a game, Morgan, I said evenly, though adrenaline surged through me. I built my company. It's my life, not family news. Not family news. Morgan's laugh was sharp, bitter. She stood pacing the edge of the table, her dress swishing with each step. You've got $10 million, Krista, $10 million, and we've been scraping by, Lance and I saving for a house, Mom and Dad dipping into savings to help us. How could you hide this? How selfish are you? Lance shifted uncomfortably, staring at his plate, avoiding eye contact. Mom made a small noise, her hand trembling as she set down her glass. Krista, is this true? I nodded, the weight lifting even as chaos brewed. Yes, I own K-Tech. We've grown fast. Morgan whirled back, her face flushed. Grown fast? You're worth $10 million and let us think you're some mid-level coder struggling in New York. That's betrayal. Dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse. $10 million? How? But Morgan cut him off, jabbing a finger at me. Do you know what that money could do? We could have expanded our home, taken real vacations, not the budget ones. And you hoarded it all. The accusation snapped something in me. Hoarded? I've been selfish. I rose slowly, my voice steady but laced with years of pent-up hurt. Let's talk about selfish, Morgan. I'm the one overlooked since we were kids. Your talent shows got cheers and dresses. My math wins got nothing. Christmas? You got gadgets. I got books. Dance classes for you, but no coding camp for me because it's too expensive. Mom's eyes widened, tears forming, but she stayed silent. Dad rubbed his temples, looking shell-shocked. Morgan huffed, crossing her arms. That's ancient history. This is now family helps family. You owe us. Austin started to interject, but I held up a hand. I worked 3 jobs in college while Mom and Dad paid your tuition and sent allowances. My graduation. You bragged about Morgan's play. I built K-Tech from Aunt Jane's inheritance, the money you wanted me to hand over for her masters. Lance muttered something about calming down, but Morgan ignored him, her voice climbing. Aunt Jane left that to you. We could have used it. And now with 10 million you're still holding out. What kind of sister are you? The kind who succeeded without your spotlight. I shot back, heat rising. The kind ignored at every turn, rooms redecorated for you, mine unchanged. Discipline. You got talks, I got grounded. And now, because I have money, suddenly I'm family. What does that say about you? Relatives murmured, shifting in seats, the party air thick with discomfort. Mom sobbed quietly. Krista, we didn't mean to. We thought Morgan needed more guidance. You were always so capable. Capable because I had no choice, I replied, turning to her. You made me that way by choosing her every time. Dad tried again, his face pale. This money. How did you even... But Morgan steamrolled on, pacing faster. Forget the past. We need help now. Lance and I want kids, but costs are high. Mom and Dad deserve retirement without worry. Share it, that's what families do. Austin spoke up, calm but firm. From what I've seen, Krista's given plenty emotionally. Maybe it's time for respect in return. Morgan glared at him. Stay out of this. This is blood. She turned back to me, eyes blazing. So what's the plan? A loan for our house funds for Mom's dream cruise? Or do you keep it all pretending we're not struggling? The room held its breath, waiting. I met her gaze, unflinching. Nothing. I don't know handouts. If it was life or death, maybe. But this entitlement to what I earned alone. Morgan's face contorted. Entitlement? We've supported you. Supported. I laughed, the sound hollow. By ignoring my wins? Filming Morgan at my events, bailing her out while I scraped by. Dad whispered 10 million, still processing, his hands shaking. Mom reached for him, tears streaming. Lance stood pulling Morgan's arm. Let's cool off. But she shook him off, voice a whisper, hiss. This isn't over, Krista. You can't drop this bomb and walk away. I sat back, the confrontation draining yet freeing. The party was ruined, cake, untouched, guests slipping out early. Austin leaned in. You were strong. Proud of you. As night fell, the fallout began, texts buzzing, but I silenced my phone, knowing the real storm was just starting. Austin and I slipped out of the house as the party crumbled, the half-eaten cake, and scattered gifts, a stark reminder of the chaos. My phone buzzed relentlessly, texts from Morgan, missed calls from Mom, but I silenced it, my hands shaking as we drove to a nearby Marriott. The cool night air hit my face when we stepped out, a relief after the suffocating tension. In our hotel room, Austin ordered room service, burgers, fries, a bottle of red, while I sat on the bed, replaying Morgan's accusations, her voice still ringing in my ears. 10 million, and you hoarded it. I laughed, a mix of exhaustion and disbelief. Did you see Mom's face? She looked like I'd robbed a bank. Austin handed me a glass of wine, sitting beside me. You held your ground, Krista. That was raw, real strength. I nodded, but the weight of 30 years pressed down years of being sidelined, now topped with demands for my money. My phone lit up again, Morgan's texts, a whirlwind of rage and guilt trips. How dare you humiliate us, followed by, we're family, talk to me. Mom's voicemails were softer, tearful pleas to come back and work things out. Even Lance sent a stiff message. Sorry about the mess. Morgan's just shocked. I flipped the phone face down. They can wait, I said. I'm done for tonight. Morning brought a knock at the door. Austin opened it to find Mom standing there, eyes puffy, still in yesterday's sweater. I checked 2 hotels to find you, she said, her voice small. Can we talk? Austin excused himself for coffee, leaving us alone. I sat on the bed, Mom in the desk chair, her hands twisting nervously. Krista, I'm sorry about last night, she began. Morgan shouldn't have yelled, but finding out you're worth so much, it's a lot. Why didn't you tell us? I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. Why? Because I knew this would happen. Demands accusations like my success is a family ATM. I built K-Tech alone. Mom, no help, no cheers from you or Dad. Her face crumpled, but she pressed on. We didn't know you were struggling. Morgan always needed more, her career, her life. It's harder for her. You were always so independent. The words cut deep, an echo of my childhood. Independent because you forced me to be, I said. You picked Morgan every time, her trips, her car, her tuition. I got nothing but, you'll manage. Mom shook her head, tears falling. We love you both equally. Morgan she's fragile. You're strong, Krista. We thought you didn't need us. I leaned forward, my voice firm. Strength isn't a pass to be ignored. You celebrated her every step, plays, jobs, vacations. Name one time you celebrated me. Silence stretched between us. She opened her mouth, then closed it, unable to answer. That's what I thought, I said, the ache in my chest sharpening. She shifted tactics. Morgan's hurting. She and Lance want a family, but money's tight. Your success could help, maybe a loan or something for their future. My jaw tightened. So now my money makes me family. Where was that? When I was tutoring to eat in college, Mom flinched but doubled down. Morgan's always been open with us. You hid this, Krista. That hurts too. The blame stung, but it wasn't new. I hid it because I knew you'd hand it to her, I said. Like always. The conversation ended there. No resolution, just raw truth. Mom left, promising to call later, but I felt the finality settling in. Back in the room, Austin returned, his face concerned. You okay? I shook my head. They'll never see me, not really. He hugged me, and in that moment I decided. No more half measures. I was done chasing their approval. My phone kept buzzing, Morgan's texts now threatening to tell everyone how selfish I was, Mom's voicemails begging for a family meeting, Dad's single message, we need to talk. I ignored them all. That afternoon we drove back to the house to grab our things. Morgan and Lance were there. Her arms crossed, his eyes on the floor. Running away, she snapped. Typical Krista, dodging family. I didn't engage, just packed my bag. Dad tried to intervene, his voice low. Krista, let's sit down, figure this out. I met his eyes. There's nothing to figure out. You made your choices long ago. Before leaving, I made one final move. I contacted a lawyer to set up an educational trust for Morgan's future kids, my niece or nephew, who deserved a shot untainted by this mess. The trust was ironclad, college expenses only, no access for Morgan or Lance. I emailed the details to Dad, keeping it short. For their kids, not her. Don't ask for more. It felt right, a nod to Aunt Jane's belief in giving without strings, but also a line in the sand. As Austin and I drove back to New York, the weight of Fort Wayne lifted. Morgan's last text came through. You'll regret this. Family doesn't abandon family. I blocked her number, a quiet relief washing over me. Mom called again, her voicemail choked with tears. We can fix this, Krista. Please. I deleted it. Dad didn't try again, his silence louder than words. The road stretched ahead, and for the first time I felt free, not just from their expectations, but from the need to prove myself to them. Austin glanced over, his voice soft. You did what you needed to. That's enough. I nodded, the city skyline coming into view, a new chapter waiting. Back in New York, the city's pulse felt like a fresh start. My Manhattan loft with its wide windows and skyline view was a sanctuary after Fort Wayne's chaos. Austin and I unpacked in silence, the weight of the weekend settling like dust. My phone stayed quiet. I'd blocked Morgan's number, ignored Mom's voicemails, and Dad hadn't reached out since his single text. Cutting them off wasn't easy, but it was necessary. For the first time in 30 years, I wasn't carrying their expectations, their favoritism, their demands. I was free. The fallout came fast. Morgan took her anger public texting cousins and aunts, a twisted version of events. I was the greedy sister hoarding millions while the family struggled. A distant cousin who hadn't spoken to me in years messaged, "Heard, you're loaded now. Could you help with my car payments?" I deleted it without replying. Mom called daily, her voicemails a mix of tears and pleas. "Krista, we're family. We can fix this." Dad's silence spoke louder. He'd always followed Morgan's lead, and now he had nothing to say. I didn't respond. The trust fund for Morgan's future kids was my final gesture. Education only, no strings for her or Lance. That was enough. Work became my anchor. K-Tech Innovations hummed with new projects, AI tools for sustainable retail, health tech apps gaining traction. I poured myself into mentoring young coders, especially women, sharing the lessons Aunt Jane drilled into me. Build quietly. Let your work speak. My team respected me. My clients trusted me. And that was validation my family never gave. Austin, now a constant in my life, saw it all. Over dinner one night he raised a glass. "To you, Krista, unstoppable, no matter who tried to dim your light." I smiled, the warmth of his words filling a space my family left empty. Therapy helped unpack the rest. I started sessions with a counselor who specialized in family dynamics, digging into why I'd hidden my success for so long. "You were protecting your worth," she said. "Your family assigned you the role of the invisible achiever, Morgan, the needy star. When you broke that script, it shattered their system." She was right. My wealth wasn't the issue, it was what it revealed: years of neglect, entitlement, conditional love. Therapy taught me boundaries weren't betrayal, they were survival. I wrote an email to my extended family, clear and firm: no discussions about my finances, no contact unless respect was mutual. Most didn't reply. Morgan sent one last message before I blocked her: "You've destroyed us." I let it go. Months passed and the distance clarified everything. My parents' calls slowed, their messages stuck in old patterns, Mom defending Morgan, Dad offering weak apologies. I didn't budge. Cutting ties wasn't about anger, it was about choosing myself. I'd spent decades seeking their approval, molding myself to fit their indifference. No more. My worth wasn't tied to their recognition, it came from within. From the empire I built, the lives I touched, the future I was shaping. Austin proposed that spring on a rooftop under New York's stars, his ring a simple sapphire that felt like home. We planned a life together, one where any kids we might have would be seen for who they are, not pitted against each other. My chosen family friends who'd celebrated my wins from the start became my foundation. We hosted brunches, coded side projects, built traditions rooted in respect, not obligation. Money, once my secret shield, became a tool. I funded scholarships for girls in tech, mentored startups, found joy in giving without strings, something my family never understood. Looking back, the lesson hit hard: your value isn't what others see in you. It's what you know you're capable of, even when they look away. My family's favoritism shaped me, but it didn't define me. I built $10 million from scratch, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. To anyone stuck in a family that dims your light, set boundaries, walk away if you must. You don't owe your worth to anyone who can't see it. Protect your peace, build your own path, and don't let their shadows hold you back. Thank you for hearing my story. If you've faced family drama or fought to be seen, drop your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Hit that like button if this resonated, and subscribe for more real stories about finding your strength. Share this with someone who needs to know their value isn't up for debate. Stay true to you.